You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the August 23rd, 2023 meeting of the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
We'll call the Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023 meeting of the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Justin Keel,
Present.
Michael Rosenbaum,
Present.
Scott Cooley,
Present.
Tom Fack, Randy Novak,
Present.
Mark Parkman,
Present.
Rich Mrzinski,
Present.
Rhonda Spence. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Up next, the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes that anyone would like to propose?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Novak, second by Mr. Parkman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and we move to public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Any public comments? Doesn't look like there's anyone else on Zoom. Public comment is closed, and we'll move to the approval of minutes. Are there any additions or corrections?
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cooley. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. Communications.
Communications for the months of July and August. Treasurer's report request from the Auditor's Office. D&M has no pay request this month. Auditor's Office to prepare the August 23 claims and automated POs. Picked up the mail at the Auditor's Office, nothing of significance. Auditor's Office delivered the July POs. JBC Rail, the status of the KIP bridge and the CSX switch payments. I'm sure Matt will mention it, but they have begun that project. Harold Argus, the legal notice for the claims. Invoices for the month from our various contractors. JBC Rail, CSX, Lindborg. The BOT agreement, or the joint agreement that you approved last month, was distributed to all the signees. And then the Ready Grant needed a unique identity number from the county, which we supplied. And then yesterday, just so that you know, we got a email from the Auditor's Office indicating that the ARP funds for D&M was in the red. Upon an investigation, it is in the red because the difference is the amount of D&M's payment number 9, which is $287,682.87. So the amount encumbered at the end of 2022 was $1,300,000, and it should have been $1,651,201.06. So at the next county council meeting, and the auditor agrees that that's what the issue is.
September.
In September.
October 2nd now.
That will be reappropriated. That amount will be reappropriated because it's part of the original $2 million that the county council appropriated. So they're just going to reappropriate it. And we're fine with D&M because there is no payment this month. So we should be fine.
I'm having a lack of understanding that the auditor's office screws up and the council approved the full amount. So if the auditor's office screws up, why do we have to redo it again? This is not for you. I'm making a public statement about it and the frustration over this, and we're going to end it there.
Sure.
Thank you.
I prepared the encumbrance, and I got the balance from the auditor's office. I will now ask for every month for all the different accounts we have, because the council has been so generous with supporting the RDC's efforts. I will get those appropriation accounts balances every month, so that won't happen again.
So this boils down to an incorrect encumbrance amount. That was
correct. If the encumbrance was the 1.6 million, which was the actual balance, I wouldn't be asking you or talking to you about this. But I used 1.3 million, and when I looked at it, somehow pay request number 9, which was paid in February, got attributed to the 2022 balance of that ARP account.
So is this incorrect numbers that came from the auditor's office, or just a typo on someone from RDC's part?
Why did February's go to 2022's? They paid it out of 2022's account,
No, we paid it in 2023.
right?
Yeah, so, in terms of just filing the paperwork, I was not aware that we were responsible for doing all those encumbrances. So when I did them, I had short notice. So I just called the auditor's office and talked to the staff and said, what are these so that I can encumber them? And so I did what I could in that time frame, and then this came up. So this is the remedy. It's not new money. It's money that you already have. I just need it reappropriated.
But the balance was 1.6.
Yes,
They should have encumbered the entire amount, just to make sure.
1.6, correct, for that ARP.
But there
fund.
was some change in personnel up there, so.
Yeah, fortunately, this is a simple procedural fix, so
Correct.
there's
And I
no new
talked
money
to-
involved. So
I talked to Rhonda, and she's
Yeah,
going
with
to
the storms.
advertise it and take care of it. But it will be on your September meeting to take care of.
Not the first one we've had to take care of.
Well, I'm sure the RDC appreciates that.
thank you for keeping us informed on it.
You're welcome.
Any other communications?
That is the end.
We will move to the treasurer's report.
The treasurer's report is as follows. US 421, your balance as of August 23rd, 2023 is $265,975. US 421 TIF 2, balance 0. KIDC TIF, balance $90,961. 39 North, balance $89,555. End of treasurer's report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Parkman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The treasurer's report is approved. And consideration of claims, which is on page 2. For the KIDC TIF in the amount of $18,660, is there a motion to approve those 4 claims?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mrzinski, second by Mr. Rosenbaum. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Then we have the US 421 number 1 TIF, 3 items in the amount of $2,992.46.
To approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mrzinski, second by Mr. Rosenbaum. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. 39 North, there's 1 item for $1,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mrzinski, second by Mr. Rosenbaum. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. I-94 US 35 Utility Infrastructure Design Services claims. There's 1 item for an amount of $2,600.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mrzinski, second by Mr. Novak. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. KIDC Bridge Project Ready Grant claims. There's 1 item for $300,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mrzinski, second by Mr. Novak. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and I believe that concludes our claims. Which brings us to old business. Mr. Reardon, you're up for the US 421 I-94 TIF update.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you all for indulging me so I can be on the TV. I've always wanted to be on the TV, so here I am. On 421 and 94, the construction project's winding down. Mitch will be able to give you an update as to where we stand with that. But in the way of development, I think this is timely. Today, I had a scheduled call with the developer who previously was looking to go in Michigan City. And as you recall, we had a little bit of, not us, somebody had a little bit of confusion relating to how this whole thing would work in regards to annexation and public finance. We've been able to work through that with this particular developer, and they will be presenting to us a formal request for some either incentive participation from the Redevelopment Commission and or some participation from the County Council on tax abatement. The project has been, at our suggestion, was that the project move from a simple metal, I shouldn't say simple. Anybody building 300,000 feet is not simple, but I've requested that because of the specific location of this project and proximity to the hospital and the other activities that have gone on both in the county on 400 and in Michigan City on the north, that they look to make that facility tilt up concrete, which they have. And so I'm expecting to get a plan set, a request for either a request to sit down and negotiate with the county related to the project. It was a very positive call. They had the developer and the finance person on there, and I'm expecting a package in a couple of weeks. Hopefully at our meeting in September, we can address this issue and perhaps move forward to another project.
Thank you for the update. Mr. Novak and I attended that this morning, and you did an excellent job representing the county's interests in those conversations. Anything else or any questions from anyone on the 421 I-94 TIF?
Yeah, I could share a little bit of information.
Yes.
As far as Matt brought up some of the constructions and the updates, the biggest delay has been AT&T and the relocation of their facilities and equipment. So Alexander Mason is the project manager for AT&T. Contacted him today because I got emails in the past that was supposed to be relocated on the 15th. So I wanted to update. So he basically said they're out there. They had everything ordered, all the equipment they need. Guys are out there working, and they hit fiber lines to the hospital and multiple cell towers in the area. So I'm like, okay. So now he has to put a claim out and order those new equipment needed to fix what they broke. And I said, well, what's the ETA, of that, and when do you have this completed? And he said, well, optimistically, 3 to 4 weeks will be completed. And is that with the fiber, or is that with your AT&T line has to be relocated so we could finish off the sewer line, the sewer main? And he goes, hopefully the sewer main. So that's the newest and greatest. Also, I created a punch list because there hasn't been much work done because we were all waiting on AT&T. So we went out there and created a punch list of mostly restoration that needs to be completed. Gave that to Mr. Miller about 3 or 4 days ago. So here's something you could probably be doing in the meantime. So there is, I don't know if you remember the Paz family on 950. She requested 6 trees. So the simple things that she never got her 6 trees, and that was part of her easement agreement. So things like this, I'm saying, hey, these are some boxes that you could get going, at least get this out of the way for the time being. So I guess that's we're still unfortunately in the same spot of waiting for AT&T to remove their facilities so we get that line west on 300 North so we can serve Love's facility. Now Love's isn't going to be fully up and running until March, April next year, although they are moving pretty well. I'm sure you've driven out there and saw the progress. So we still have time, and it's still going to be okay, but they need to get going. We don't need any more delays.
I have a question for Matt. Have you heard anything from the developer out there with the other project?
No, I have not. I haven't heard back from him about the warehouse deal or where they're at with it.
They've cleared it all. It looks like, so.
Well, I guess that's kind of good news. He's not asking us for anything, so I'm happy he's doing it under his own steam.
Well,
I think we made it pretty clear that the county had incentivized this transaction, or the transactions, plural, by utilizing tax increment finance and ARP money to run the infrastructure down there. So I'll check back in with him, Randy, and see what exactly they're doing. They may just have cleared the property in anticipation of marketing and development. I mean, they own it, so I mean that's pretty typical developer
and
activity.
his payment, it's the last payment we have coming in?
We still need our $75,000. That's for sure.
Okay. Maybe you could ask him when we anticipate that coming, so.
Will do.
Thank you.
Any other questions or updates? If not, we'll move on to the KIP TIF update.
So good news on KIP. Process underway for bridge. We have a bunch of materials that were sent to us by JBC Rail about the activity out there, and the bridge is, I guess, out. They're being replaced, and it's moving forward. So that's all good news. There were some on that project, and then we'll cover this down in new business. But the CSX, there was a bit of confusion on who the sidetrack agreement was going to be with, and I think as the body will recall, at the recommendation of both myself and Guy DiMartino, we didn't want any part of the sidetrack agreement. That was JBC Rail, and I'm trying to figure out or communicate with it. It seems like there's a new representative for CSX on this, but Carol says they're ready to go at any minute, and I'm just going to keep monitoring that situation.
Thank you. Any questions or other updates anyone wants to share? If not, we'll move to 39 North, Tiff.
39 North, well, we've had, Mitch and I had a lengthy developer discussion yesterday or a day before. For Mitch, do you remember, was he doing 1 million square feet to start, or was he going to start with 250,000? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Turn your mic on.
There was 5 rail spurs, Matt. 120 by 100 by 750 foot building. So that's 90,000 square foot building. Hickman Williams addition. So right across from the golf course on 39 North. Yeah.
So the activity zoned, the area is zoned for the activity, and of course we're in the middle of the discussion of City of LaPorte versus, I shouldn't say versus, City of LaPorte negotiating with 39 North Conservancy. I had a phone call today with the administration and with 39 North to let them know about the project, that they needed to be served, and that when it would happen. I'm going to work with Bert Cook and draft a joint letter that would be something from the county to county and city to the potential developer about the process and any potential public health. And that has to do with the following: either the city's going to put up the water tower, or this developer is going to have to put up the water tower. And if they do, they indicated, we understand, we would like to do a recapture agreement so we could get our money back. So I mean, it's my preference to let the private sector solve the issue themselves, unless the city decides, as part of their negotiating with 39 North, that they're going to go ahead and do it. So we'll have an answer for that developer. But they also indicated that because of the location, they're likely to do additional distribution space out there, and specifically reference the Anacostia property adjacent to Hickman Williams stuff. So, they sounded like they knew what they were doing. They do have designs, and they've been working with Anacostia on the rail use. So it seems pretty positive. But the question remains the fire suppression. So we need to get that worked out. Nothing new on that front for us.
Any questions or anything anyone wants to add? If not, we'll move on to the 3594 TIF update.
I think we're going to have a pretty good update on 35 and 94 in or around January or February of 2024.
That's all you got?
That's all I have.
Yeah.
That was quick. New business discussion of housing TIF increment finance district, tax increment finance district. Mr. Reardon.
So the Indiana General Assembly changed the tax increment financing rules for housing, and basically opened the state up for the next 4 years for anybody anywhere to use tax increment finance for the purposes of development of housing. So I think Randy brought it up, a couple years ago when we started talking about what would be a good spot, to do this. And, no site emerged directly. And, the developer that was trying to locate on Route 2 didn't ask for assistance, and we weren't going to offer that up as a solution for him. But if you go back and you look at the housing study, it says we need some more housing. If you look at the pretty large project going on adjacent to us to the south, there's some additional opportunity and demand. So it's a process very similar to the regular TIF process. You write a plan, you get an area, you do a budget, and that budget comes back to this body and the plan for approval. And it was suggested by the president, Matt, what were the stumbling blocks? Well, what are some of the challenges out there related to doing residential housing TIF? And I said, well, the one thing that is apparent is that I don't think we want housing developed anywhere where we can't activate the site with municipal water and sewer. I don't think that's a long-term solution to have well and septic in subdivisions. With that being said, there's also a challenge in that these subdivisions need to be approved through the Plan Commission, and there's a deliberative public process associated with it. And so what I would like to do is to draft an RFP, and here, the bullet points in this RFP are this. Are you a property owner in LaPorte County? Do you have a parcel of property that is 100 acres? Do you have access to municipal sewer and water? And do you want to sell your property for development? And it's kind of we're allowing the public to comment and outreach to us if they want to sell their property. In that document, it's also going to say that we're not guaranteeing a development will happen. We're not taking your property. This is a decision between you and a developer. So we want to make it clear that we're not telling anybody what to do with their property. We're kind of opening the door if they want to submit property they have. And I'm interested to see if we get responses and how many we might get. From there, it'll give us some information, and with technical staff, we can look at and verify information about location of utilities, topography, wetland, suitability of soils, and the school district where the proposed development would go to make sure that wouldn't cause an undue burden there. Now, I don't think that's going to be a challenge, but it's a checklist when you're doing housing development. So my request to the board is, would it be okay if we drafted that RFP, put it out there, put it in the newspaper, publicized it, put it on our website, to see if we have property owners that have interest?
Yeah. Is there anything from, because I know the meeting that we had at your place, Mr. Parkman, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Tony Rodriguez was really actively looking for some properties. I'm just wondering if he left anything behind, or if there's a way to see if he found anything, because the meeting that we had with Mr. Parkman's place with Farm Bureau, trying to not, getting the farmers' input on where's the best place to go.
Yeah, so I worked with Tony with that. I gave him a lot of information. So what I did was gave him all the properties in LaPorte County that were zoned residential and were adjacent to a current sewer or water system. And there was a list, not many, but there was, I'm going to say off the top of my head now, maybe 400, 300 acres potentially in LaPorte County as a whole that could be served by sewer right now today. That is also zoned residential. I gave him, I could probably dig it up. But what he's talking about is that I think this would be great, creating a soft inventory, essentially, of potential sites in LaPorte County. And it ties in because I'm pursuing grant money now. I identified to update our comprehensive plan, our 20-year plan that needs to be updated. And of course, it's divided into sub areas in our county. So I know one area we're looking at now, and you know this, and they're probably going to come in front of you for a little bit of money next month, is sewer in the Saugony Lake and Hudson Lake area. We did procure a large grant, but inflation went up, and so we're trying to close the gap with ready money as well, ready part 2. So I know that's going to come from the council, but I think in that sub area, especially with, you know, the battery operation and 2 miles from our county line, that's 1,600 jobs and 26 supposedly. And we're already short in housing. The housing study Matt references doesn't even take that into consideration. So those sub areas in our comprehensive plan really need to be looked at, especially I would say in the northeast, the east portions of LaPorte County. And I think that what he's talking about will go hand in hand with our comprehensive plan update and some of the recommendations in those sub areas.
So the limitation of, because prior we could only do one whole grant
Yes.
municipality or government body could. So now for the next 4 years, that's lifted.
You run wild. No
We need
requirements.
We need to run wild, man.
When you say no requirements,
Right.
it used to be an area that didn't have much growth. Have they taken that away?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Parkman. It was a community that had less than 1% growth over 3 years. Well, evidently, I guess the other places that wanted growth, that had a little more growth, were upset. They went down to the General Assembly and got a 4-year reprieve. Now, do I think that's great public policy? Probably not, but the developers are probably pretty happy about it. It kind of removed the impetus for the places that are having a difficult time getting development versus other places. But I think if we can identify the correct areas, LaPorte County can be as competitive as anywhere else.
Well, and the 1% was pretty restrictive if you were a small community like Westville. It didn't
Yeah.
take a whole lot before you were out of
Right.
the ability to grow. So that's
Yes.
beneficial.
Correct. And it doesn't preclude the Westvilles and anywhere else from doing this themselves.
I guess I would encourage that we not just focus on single family housing. There's a whole diversity of, or a need for a diversity of housing stock. We should also look to see what options there might be or what needs there might be for,
Multifamily
apartments and whatnot. Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
Yeah, I think using the word term housing generally is what I'm thinking, like where ideas where this could work. But it's key to have willing participants to start with.
Exactly.
And Mitch's idea of we're just going to continue to build our inventory. And no, Randy, we didn't forget about it. There's like 800 acres that were identified in between LaPorte and Michigan City,
Right.
and it got where the cost to serve the property was upside down no matter what we did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just either too far of a run or would have required a legitimate effort to do a wastewater treatment plant basically for that subdivision, that area. And nobody that I know of was interested in front funding that money to do a wastewater treatment plant there. I mean, if you look at what Mitch has done up in Saugony Lake, that took a lot of years and a lot of effort to get the $40 million grant. And those are existing neighborhoods.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion and that we allow Mr. Reardon to go ahead and draft that paperwork that he's talking about.
Second.
It'd be worthwhile to see what we got.
Motion by Mr. Mrzinski, second by Mr. Novak. Any further discussion?
No, that's what I was going to share. I totally agree with it. I just have a question. Is there a cost that you expect us to have to expend, such besides advertising, for you to if this is part of your contract, or is this?
Yeah, don't worry about it. The cost of all the advertising, that's on MCR. That's me.
Okay. I'm not trying to pin it on you. Just wanted to make sure we all understand. Thank you.
No. I got it taken care of. I just wanted to get permission from the board.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Any other discussion related to housing TIFs? If not, we'll move on to consideration of appraisal for KIP rail.
Thank
who's
you, Mr.
taking that?
President. As I mentioned in the KIP discussion, the bridge is moving. The CSX Connect is imminent. Mr. Limborg is in process, and we'll have a review of an incentive request for tax abatement that will be something that would go in front of the county council at the next meeting, provided it rises to the level of participation. But I think that at least from the outset, the idea was to not be in the railroad business. And I think that having Guy review this interaction with not only JBC, but with Limborg and the CSX sidetrack agreement all points to the direction of we don't want to be, nor should we be in the railroad business. And I believe that and I think now that we have the literal track connected, it makes some sense to have an understanding of the value of the asset. Now we have a benchmark that was provided by the insurer for that, which is about $3.5 million. But in order for the county to divest these assets, we'd have to have two appraisals. And I'm not going to get into Guy's territory, but there's a property disposition process that is a legal process. And we can't do that without having two appraisals for that. And I would request the commission allow me to seek two appraisals, or seek bids for appraisals to do the valuation of the track and underlying real estate as to have a value. And I would answer any questions or urge you to ask, Guy, how does this work? How does the process work?
So there was a quiet motion by Mr. Parkman and a second by Mr. Novak. Discussion.
I think we need to get
We're going to have to look into it, but do you have somebody that's been chatting with you that?
Do you have somebody, Matt, that does that stuff?
You know what? I don't know anybody off the top of my head that does like railroad appraisals.
Yeah.
I don't know. Housing, yes. Anything else, you bet. But I don't know. And I'm guessing it's a specialty item that people would have to do.
Doug might know.
Well,
I think
so the first step is going to be, like Matt said, to appraise the property.
Right.
We need to know what we have. So I would recommend, but you can't do a not to exceed or anything like that yet because we don't know.
He
So
just
maybe
has to get bids.
right. Request for yep.
So you would be bringing back estimates to us next month for approval?
Or
Yeah, I don't think there's any. I mean, if we can get this in a good form, to go hard in 2024, I think we were in good shape. So we have a couple of months here to do that. So I could bring the bids back and, got to seek, like I said, people who do appraise utilities such as this. So, and then bring it back to the board to decide who to select or whatever. I mean, these are professional services, so you can pick who you want. I just think we need to make sure we got appraisers that do that work.
I suppose I should have used the word quotes instead of bids, that he'd be bringing back quotes for
that's
us.
fine.
Any other discussion? Okay, there's a motion and a second to receive quotes for the appraisal of the KIP rail. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Moving on to other business. Is there any other business? I was just going to point out that our next meeting coincides with the AIC conference, I believe. Is that going to pose a scheduling conflict for some of us?
I'll be here.
It could be a conflict for
You
me.
could Zoom, couldn't you? Could you Zoom at 4 o'clock? 4
I'm
o'clock
not.
is 5
I'm not
o'clock?
sure if we are returning that day. I don't remember the dates. I thought we returned that day or the next morning, and I don't remember.
On a Wednesday?
We'll check into it and
Yeah.
let everyone know.
Meanwhile, what I heard, you have a quorum,
Yeah.
so I don't think there's a problem with changing that date.
Okay.
No, it shouldn't be.
And with that, we've reached the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Novak, second by Mr. Rosenbaum. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.